not surprising, but still quite disturbing to see that the Biden administration plans to keep the Space Force, which again, was kind of created under by Congress at the behest of Trump, and unfortunately, obviously Democrats controlled the House at that time too. Yet they voted to give Trump his fucking ridiculous Space Force, and the Biden administration is not going to use any type of pressure or anything like that to get rid of it. As we'll see from Biden's press secretary, they completely support the Space Force, which, I mean, Biden supports this, but he said he would veto Medicare for all. So he's okay with people dying because they don't have health care and also going bankrupt. So he's fine with that, but getting rid of the Space Force, that's too much. That's out of control.
The top Republican on the House Armed Services Committee is asking you to apologize for some of the comments that you made yesterday in the briefing room about the Space Force. Will you apologize? I did send a tweet last night.
Okay, this is kind of funny, actually.
Maybe they're not on Twitter. That said, we invite the members of Space Force here to provide an update to all of you on all of the important work they're doing. And
so honestly, like, that tweet should actually been a sarcastic tweet. Like, yeah, come talk about all these great things the fucking Space Force is doing. Yes, of course I was joking. It's the fucking Space Force. That's ridiculous. We don't need to be militarizing outer space, for God's sakes. We're going to do everything we can to get rid of this monstrosity. But no, she was actually serious. She thinks the Space Force, like, is doing these great things. Like, fuck.
Certainly look forward to seeing continued updates from their team. But big picture here, I mean, does the Space Force have the full support
Here's
of the
that.
Biden administration?
Here we go.
Or is the president at some point perhaps going to try to get rid of it or in some way diminish it? They absolutely have the full support of the Biden administration.
There you go, full support.
And we are not revisiting the decision to establish the Space Force. The desire for the Department of Defense to focus greater attention and resources,
aka the military-industrial complex, and corporations like Boeing, Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, General Dynamics, GE, Halliburton, etc. They want the Space Force. They say it's going to make us so much safer. Yeah, I mean, it's also going to make them millions, if not billions of dollars over the years. But of course, that has nothing to do with it. It's to keep us safe. We got to put nukes and satellites, all kinds of crazy shit in outer space to keep us safe. I mean, that's what they're really saying if they're being honest. Like, it's so fucking ridiculous. Like, the Space Force has the full support of the Biden admin. I guess that's something else, Biden shared in common with Trump, unfortunately.
The growing security challenges in space has long been a bipartisan issue, informed by numerous independent commissions and studies
Who the
conducted
fuck is
across
saying this?
multiple administrations and thousands.
Who are these studies being funded by? Please, I would like a list. I would love to know what studies have been done showing that the United States needs the fucking Air Force when we spend more than the next 10 countries combined on the military. Jesus fucking Christ.
And women proudly serve in the Space Force. As you know, it was established by Congress, and any other steps would actually have to be taken by Congress, not by the administration.
Christ, dude.
One more space question. NASA's Artemis program, which was the Trump-era program to return American astronauts to the moon by 2024. What is the president's plan? What is he going to do with that program? Is he going to keep it intact? I am personally interested in space. I think it's a fascinating area of study, but I have not spoken with our team about this particular program, so let me see if we can get you a more informed...
Okay, that would be a little bit better use of money, sending people to the moon as opposed to trying to militarize outer space. When again, don't mind, this is a bit of a right-wing foundation, I think, but it's accurate. This graph is accurate. Look at that. $732 billion the United States spent on death and destruction. And I guess this would have been in 2020 compared to next 10 countries combined. Brazil, South Korea, Japan, UK, Germany, France, Saudi Arabia, Russia, India, China. All those countries' military budgets combined still $6 billion less than the United States. Just think about, like, even just cutting that in half. Obviously I'd wanted more like something like that. Looks a little better. But cutting it in half, that would be over 350 billion, it's $1 billion with a B, that could be spent on programs of social uplift, both within the United States and abroad. And again, Martin Luther King warned us, when a country starts spending more on its war machine than it does on programs of social uplift, that country is approaching or has already experienced a spiritual death. And that was obviously very true when MLK said it in the 60s, and was vilified, especially for speaking out against the Vietnam War. And it's just as true now. Completely spiritually bankrupt the United States is, at least the U.S. government and who they work for, military-industrial complex. And this is just as evidenced by Biden, his administration giving their full support. Again, you heard it from Jen Psaki, Biden admin's press secretary there. Space Force has the full support, but he would veto Medicare for All. He's cutting the whole bait and switch about the $2,000 stimulus checks would go out right away if they won Georgia, which they did, obviously. Now it's, we already gave you a down payment, even though that was under Trump and we were in office, but let's consider that $600. Let's add it together with the $1,400. I say I'm giving you, that was $2,000. You see, like, we're doing this new math. It's fun. Remember, we're not Trump. I mean, Jesus Christ. We'll keep the fucking Space Force and would veto Medicare for All. Them motherfuckers. Again, not surprising. Biden has always been, a war hawk and a corporatist, so it's not really that surprising that he's not willing to stand up to the military-industrial complex in this case, in the form of continuing to support the Space Force. So, those are my thoughts. Leave yours down below. Like the video if you like the damn video. Subscribe for more content. Peace. Much love.